starting the stream. Once again, if you guys want to like talk while I'm doing this, because I won't be looking at the Discord chat. So if you guys want to like say something, just talk in the stream chat because that's what I'm gonna have open. But yeah, so there's this like little superhero esque thing that I've been just working on for the past few months because I'm trying to get into film writing. Loading up isn't the one I've been talking about the other day about morphing. I don't know what you mean about morphing. Probably not. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, but all right. So we're gonna start off the whole superhero thing with the Iron Man of this thing. His name is Tyrannis. Fuck you. So he's basically like Iron Man in this whole thing. His name is Tyrannis, and it's in the name. He's a T Rex themed superhero. I came up with the idea of this back when I was in like the third fucking grade. So yeah, it's an idea that I liked though because there haven't been many mainstream dino superheroes. I think like the closest one was like Dinosaurus from Invincible, who I didn't even know existed until I saw season 4. Then everyone was talking about. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Anyways, um, so basically, his story starts off with him being this scientist, and his goal is to try to bring back dinosaurs, not on the Jurassic World Parkway, because this actually explores how he could do it. And his way of doing it is he creates this vial of liquid that will, wherever like it's injected into, will reformat the DNA of wherever it's in to be that of a dinosaur. Like for example, he has the DNA of a T Rex, and he injects that into the egg yolk of a lizard. The DNA cells in the egg yolk of the lizard will be reformatted to become that of a T Rex, and it will be born a T Rex. And that's basically the plan. It's just the problem is actually creating this DNA thing. Basically, they had this like online copy of the DNA, like 3D meshes, but they can't actually make it real because it would need to be like actual, like literally one-to-one cells from the simulated version, and they can't really do that. So their way of doing it is using pre-existing relatives, but those basically never worked. And this guy, so I'm also gonna say his real name. Tyrannis' real name is Jim Holson. So Jim has spent like at this point like 3 years of his life trying to get this whole thing done, and it's taken a toll on him. Like he previously had a family. His wife divorced him because he spent way too much time on that and not enough time with his family. And this is basically like key plot moment. His main problem in this whole thing is he gets really hyper focused on something that doesn't matter, but he thinks matters to where he forgets everything else. So he was so focused on this whole DNA thing. Yes, it is power scaling. Ha 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 ha. Really funny. Anyways, he was so focused on this DNA thing that he forgot to give a shit about his family. And what that basically culminates into is a major plot lesson thing that comes throughout the story. Like it's the main message of the story how a lot of people are focused on something that they think that they want over what they need. And it kind of shows like what this can do. Anyways, so in the universe, there's this so there's this thing about the government in this whole thing where they've elected this head of world defense, where there's this one person who is in charge of basically keeping all the world, everything in the world safe. So in this, all the countries are at a truce. There's just this like one guy who's in charge of making sure there aren't any wars and basically keeping the place safe from things. 1 second, I gotta. I'll be right back. So, anyways, the name of this guy is Louis Rosh, and basically, like in a previous event, there was this whole like scientific corporation war that happened where some rogue corporation leader tried to take control of another corporation's existing database and basically got people killed. So Lewis is taking a tour around a bunch of like science centers that are dedicated to research just to make sure everyone's in check. And he visits the one Jim Holson is at. And Jim has like a little assistant named John Berkeley. John Berkeley's like a side character, but he's also like Jim's only real friend because he's been doing this for years. The only person he's been doing it with is John Berkeley, so he'd obviously get to know him a lot more. But yeah, so Lewis comes by and he basically makes sure everything is in check, and he checks to see what everyone's doing, and he comes across what Jim's doing. And Jim says that he's trying to recreate dinosaur DNA, but he's kind of struggling, and he's thought of this new idea where he'll basically take the normal DNA and put it through a bunch of like biodegrading events that could potentially reformat the atomic structure to be like that of a dinosaur. The problem is that's going to take like a long time, and there's a high chance it'll take many tries. But Lewis is like kind of intrigued. So yeah, basically he's working on that, and then he tries to like talk with his ex-wife. They like he'll kind of talk with her for a bit. Like they're not like she completely hates him. She just doesn't think he's right to be in a family, but she'll talk with him like whenever he wants to. It just they're not really much of a thing. Like sometimes he'll come and visit the kids, but it's kind of like that. Like it's not like an extreme divorce. So he meets with her, he talks with her, says that he's found this new strategy, and she kind of tells him like, "Do you know when this whole thing's gonna be done?" He's kind of like, "I don't really know. This whole thing could take years. I don't even know if this thing will work." So he's kind of having this like existential crisis about this whole dino DNA thing, while his assistant is also kind of going through the same thing. Now let's go to Louis Roche. Louis Roche is creating this new kind of DNA thing, which he's basically going to use as a weapon in war, where he's creating a device that can basically copy DNA cells, similar to how like when a DNA cell or like a cell copies itself to heal. He's making a machine that can do that, and he's finding ways that it can actually be done. So basically, you input a specific DNA structure, and the machine will literally generate and create a live copy of that DNA structure. And Lewis is like, he's finished it, and he wants to show it to the world. But he also has to keep in mind that he can't just give this away to everyone. Everyone's gonna want this, and him keeping it for himself is kind of gonna appear selfish. So he kind of needs like an example of why this shouldn't be in the hands of the public. But he can't really just like create a problem, because that's not going to be really good for his case. He's the guy who's in charge of defending the world. But he has to also create a good reason as to why he can't just give it away to people. So what he does is he thinks. He thinks back to like, okay, what are some things that I could use? Like I'm using this for the military, but I can't just give this away to everyone because this is a really kind of dangerous thing. It can basically create anti-DNA stuff. And he thinks, and he says, that Jim Holson guy, he's doing this thing with dino DNA where he can recreate dinosaurs. I'm pretty sure, and he kind of like logically comes pieces together that like, you know, creating dinosaur DNA is a pretty big deal, and it's proof enough that like, this can really do anything. It can bring the dinosaurs back from the dead. So he like reaches out to Jim Holson, says, "Hey, I'm making this new machine that can basically recreate DNA. I'd like to use your dinosaur thing as an example." And he also says to Jim that the perks of it are his whole like science thing and stuff. Like he has his entire project finished, and so this like makes him so happy. So the day comes, and Lewis is showcasing it. And he properly like copies the DNA. He does it in advance. And then they showcase it. So Lewis basically creates like a copy of like Quetzalcoatlus DNA, and um, they put it in this like little vial with like a syringe. And what they do is they take this little egg, and they kind of insert a bit of it there. And then they use a microscope to showcase what's happening as well, to showcase both Lewis's invention and Jim Holson's invention. And basically, Lewis says, "Yeah, so I've created a device that can copy DNA, like any type of DNA." And Jim is working on bringing dinosaurs back from the dead, and this is his way of doing it. So it's kind of like a double showing, but they're both here to showcase something unique, something that hasn't been really done before. And of course, the crowd goes wild. Like, why wouldn't they? This is some pretty crazy stuff. And obviously, like, there are some people kind of iffy about the whole Lewis keeping the thing to himself, but a lot more people are understanding because he showcased that they could do anything. So, anyways, after this, Jim Holson is really excited. He's basically got his like this whole thing is done. He's basically finished. Of course, there's gonna be some time where he like works on getting everything in a vial, works on turning everything into like things he wants to, like putting them in the vial, making sure it's a serum that can turn DNA into other DNA, you know. And so he thinks I should tell my wife that I'm ready to, do this again. That he's ready to become a dad again. So he calls her up and he asks, "Hey, you want to like meet up later today or something?" Just like at a restaurant. So she does, and he tells her like he's done with this whole thing. He's done with being like the scientist, and he's ready to kind of give this whole relationship thing a second chance. And his wife says no. She doesn't tell him why. She just says that she doesn't think she's ready for it. Now the real thing is Jim isn't ready for it, and I'm gonna kind of give like a little spoiler. It's because Jim didn't really change from where he was before. Like he's still the same dude who is willing to prioritize literal nothing something over his family. Like no one really asked him to create this dinosaur thing. He just wanted to do it because he thinks it would make research easier. So it's not really like a prompted thing. He's doing it because he believes that's what he needs to do, and it's not what he actually needs to do. So obviously, Jim's kind of distraught. He obviously keeps his composure. He's not gonna fucking lash out at her in public, but he goes home that night pretty shocked, pretty shaken up, and can't really sleep. And the next day, he's transporting vials. He puts the T Rex thing in the vial, but you know, just the thought of he can't go back to his family, and he wanted to get this done so he could go back to his family. So now he doesn't know what to do with his life, and he's so kind of shaken up from last night. I know he's like pretty fucking crazy. Like he's literally having panic attacks because his wife didn't want to get back with him. But while this is all racing through his mind, he accidentally spills some on his hand. Now, mind you, he'd have a glove on, but he's still like, take off the glove, fucking wash his hands aggressively. But he starts feeling a little sick. Mister Jim Holson's not feeling too well, and he's like, kind of getting this like burning sensation in his hand. He's starting to feel it through his body slowly, and he's got to go. So he just tells him like he's not feeling well, he's got to go home, and he's like driving home, but like, all the while he's like barely keeping it together. Like he nearly crashes into cars. But he does manage to get his car safely home. And he stumbles out of his car. Now, Jim, I should mention, he lives in an apartment, so he has to go up an elevator. Like while the whole thing's happening, he's kind of slowly losing his mind. His skin's starting to turn like yellowish, like greenish. His hair is kind of falling out now, and he can feel like his bones like it's a very like disturbing process. Like this isn't like the Hulk where he just grows. Like his body's actually just morphing into that of like a T Rex. Now, mind you, it's only a little bit, so it's like a tiny bit of T Rex DNA is covering his whole body. So he's not going to be full T Rex, but he's going to be noticeably different. Anyways, he goes to his room and he's like having a seizure, and he like basically faints. He wakes up. He feels way different. His clothes are ripped. He's like way bigger, way more muscular. His arms are like slightly smaller. He looks at himself and he's like half T Rex, half human. Like he's got scales all over him. His hair has been replaced by like these like blue feathers, and like this like he does not look human. Like this guy is not human anymore, and he's like losing his mind over this. Like he's shocked. He's like, what the fuck? No, 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 no. Like he's kind of having like an existential crisis again because like he's half T Rex, half human, but he's alive. Like it's not like he's actually dying. Because mind you, this stuff, like the DNA vials, they were made to be injected into egg yolks because egg yolks are more malleable. He has a full DNA structure, and the T Rex DNA is like properly reformatting his DNA, so he's alive through this, albeit in pain. And he's like confused and everything. Like he's like basically going through the stages of grief because he doesn't know what the hell's happening. So what he tries to do is he tries to go to like his local pharmacy, but he can't go in the state he's in. So he basically throws on a trench coat, throws on a face mask, some goggles, gets a disguise, and he's going there to basically find some medication things. Basically, stuff that he could probably try to use to hold him off. Because mind you, this guy's a scientist, so he is and he works with a bunch of medics. Like a bunch of the scientists he's working with are people who can cure stuff, but he can't just go back to the science center because he needs ID. At a pharmacy, you can literally just go dress up as some random guy and they'll serve you. So he goes there and he kind of gets some stuff, and suddenly the place gets robbed. These people come in and they got like they don't really have guns on them, but they beat the shit out of like the cleric. Like they kill him, and then they go after other people in the store, and obviously Jim's there, and Jim doesn't want to be seen, but can't just fucking go because they're kind of blocking the exit. So Jim tries to like sneak out. One of them gets him, and they try to punch him. And obviously that does nothing to him because Jim has reptile skin, like T Rex skin. His skin is basically amped. He's physically stronger, and Jim like pushes the guy off, and he fucking throws him to a shelf, like nearly breaking the guy's back. The other guy comes in with like a blade and tries to get him. The blade like kind of pierces through some of his skin, but it's like his skin's still really tough. So he basically makes quick work of the other guy, but the other guy manages to like pull off his mask and kind of reveal Tyrannis, and the guy's like, "What the fuck are you? Oh my god!" Like he's having a panic attack because he's seeing a lizard human, and you don't see that every day. Um, so now Tyrannis has to like literally run out, and he's like trying to put everything back on, but his fucking trench coat slips off. So you basically just see this guy nearly naked running to an apartment, and it's like whole blown T Rex looking human. So that's obviously getting on the news. Um, Jim manages to get in the elevator. He goes to like a very like his floor, and nobody's there, thankfully, so no one sees him go into his room. And he's panicking. Like, and now it's all over the news. It's like lizard, human, monster seen running out of a pharmacy after a robbery. And of course, the robbers do get arrested for this. And Jim's kind of like, holy shit, oh, this is not good. And he gets calls from his coworkers asking like, hey, are you okay? Because like some giant lizard guy walks out. Their coworker who was working on DNA that can basically turn into a lizard thing, go kind of like has to go home because he's sick. They're kind of starting to put the pieces together, but they don't know for sure. They don't know for sure yet. So Jim just kind of has to play it off, saying like, "No, I'm reading this on the news. Like, what the fuck, bro? What the hell is this? It's like some kind of like cryptid thing." And so his wife comes by, and she basically says like, "Hey, are you okay?" And he can't open the door for her, but she wants to see it because she kind of suspects it's him. And he opens the door, and she sees him, and she's like shocked, but she was kind of preparing for this, and she basically says like, you could like I could keep you over at my place if you want to like lay low. And he basically says no. Two reasons: one, because he's still kind of mad at her, and two, because he believes that like he's a liability to her. Like if people find out that she's hiding him, it's not gonna look good for him or her. Like people are gonna try to get a hold of him because this is not something that's happened. They're gonna study him. They're obviously gonna use his wife as ransom, so he doesn't want that to happen to her. Little does he know, there is a spy outside of his apartment. Now let's go back to the robbers that he busted. They're part of this whole. I'm just gonna stop editing. I'm too involved with this. So basically, is that AJ? That's MJP. So the robbers were part of this bigger cult, and what this cult is they're led by this ancient god, and this ancient god wants to be set free from his like shackles, and he needs these people to gain and to become like strong, like vessels of his power, so that they stronger and smarter. Like he grants them, they have to basically make blood sacrifices to him so he can make them stronger and prove their allegiance. And basically, what he wants them to do is that he wants them to build him a strong, like a shrine strong enough to like release his power. And yeah, so basically, like these robbers were kind of like rogue members of this cult, but they were still a part of this cult. And the leader, once hearing that his men were taken down, which his men are basically trained to be like physically insane. Like they can, like you could have a gun right in front of one of these guys, and they'll put you down faster than you could like shoot that gun. Like they're like kind of superhuman, kind of not. They're just like really, really agile and skilled. So basically, the leader guy sends a spy to go like follow where go to the apartment where the Tyrannosaurus guy went. He kind of like um checks all the floors. Like he sends multiple spies, and one of them kind of catches on. It's like, hey, like he can overhear these people talking. So he catches a glimpse of the wife, and he tells his leader. So what the leader does is he kidnaps. He follows the wife home. He kidnaps her and Tyrannis' children. He has two kids. Um, and he holds them for ransom. And he sends a guy to Tyrannis' house, basically telling him that like his wife and children have been held ransom. Basically, tells Tyrannis to come with him. Tyrannis doesn't believe him, but he insists, and he says there's a car outside, go in it. And yeah, Tyrannis is kind of like he shouldn't do it, but he also should because he doesn't want his family to be like hurt and like he's kind of gullible. He's kind of gullible to this stuff. But it's also the fact that the guy knew it was him that kind of threw him off because it wasn't ever confirmed by anyone that it was that Tyrannis was Jim Holson. So he goes with this guy to the car and he goes to this abandoned warehouse and the cult leader's there and he's this guy wearing this like yellow plaid armor suit. He says to Jim, your inventions are pretty cool. I want you to go break into the science center thing and steal all the DNA vials you've made and give them to me. And the Tyrannus guy's like, well, no, there's a lot of security there. There, I'm not gonna do that. That's dangerous. And the guy says, oh, don't worry, I'll help you out. So Tyrannus is kind of iffy on this, and he says, no, I'm not gonna do it. And then the cult leader says, well, I'm gonna kill your family. So he threatens the life of his family. And obviously, Tyrannis does not want his family to die. So he has to do the hard part and go to the science place, take all the DNA vials. Except when he goes there, the place is dead. Because the cult leader went and kidnapped a bunch of people. And now you're probably asking, well, why couldn't the cult leader steal the DNA vials himself? This is his way of getting revenge on Tyrannis. What he's going to do with the DNA vials is he's going to basically inject them into himself and his men, and then essentially just dominate the world, kill people who don't want to follow him, and make everyone follow him. Like, yeah, he's basically gonna become like this authoritarian ruler of most of the world, and he wants the burden to be on Tyrannis because Tyrannis chose to mess with and nearly kill his men, which he sees as like basically blood relatives. Like they're like his family, and he doesn't take nicely to his family being messed with. So obviously, he's doing this whole thing so that Tyrannis can have the burden of single-handedly ruining the world. So Tyrannis takes the vials, and he sees the T Rex one. And Tyrannis, he's still like the same old Jim Holson guy. So he sees the T Rex thing. He's like, I can't just give this all to him. I spent my life working on this stuff. I want to at least have something to remember to like keep by me so I can at least remember this. Like he's still like fucking like dumbass crazy, still like deluded into this like thought that he like dedicated his life to this whole thing and he doesn't want to give it all to someone he doesn't know, so he wants to keep some of it. So he keeps the T-Rex vial and he gives the other vials to the guy and he says, oh, they must have gotten rid of the T-Rex vial because they must have suspected something. Turns out there were people watching him take all the stuff. They saw him hide the T-Rex vial. And because he broke his side of the bargain, the cult leader kills his family in front of him. snap, like he kills them. Yeah, this is one of those kind of things. So Jim is like fucking enraged. So he tries to fight the cult leader, but the cult leader like beats the shit out of him because Jim isn't a fighter. He's a smart guy, but he's no fighter. Um, I mean, well, he is kind of like a fighter, but he's just not on the level of the main villain guy. So he nearly kills Tyrannis, but he lets him. He basically leaves him unconscious, and he's gonna take the T-Rex vial, but he thought, no, I'll leave it with Tyrannis because that vial is gonna stay as a reminder to him that, like, he's the reason his family was killed. It wasn't anything that the other guys did. He broke his end of the bargain, and now he's gonna have that vial to live with it. So now Tyrannis is like kind of knocked out. They kind of throw him in an alleyway. Um, and like some people find the body. They bring it to the police. Turns out John Blakely wasn't kidnapped, so he like immediately realizes that like this is Jim Holson and like looks at the DNA, and he contacts Lewis Rosh to tell him like there's like a problem or something because like this is gonna be something that they've never dealt with before. So Lewis takes Tyrannis in. He basically tells him like you fucked up big time, and now I'm gonna undo the thing that you did. Tyrannis is still kind of grappling with the thought that like he did this. It's kind of stopping for him that like he put something that doesn't really matter over something that does matter because he made himself believe that. Now he realizes it's like, damn, this whole thing was my fault. Like if I hadn't prioritized something so stupid over something that actually mattered, my family would still be here. And so now he's kind of like wanting to take responsibility. So he's like, no, I gotta do this. I gotta stop them. I need to do this, blah, 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 blah. Lewis is like, you can't beat them. You got your shit kicked in by their leader. Now that they're 100% dinosaur and you're like 10% dinosaur, they're gonna beat the shit out of you whenever you come by them. And, you know, um, Jim's like, no, I can't let this happen. I can't let this happen. And so what happens is he like kind of breaks out the room and he goes on the run. He finds his vial, he takes it. He also finds like some kind of somewhat of like a super soldier serum. I wouldn't say like super soldier serum, but it's kind of like a serum that we'll get to later. We'll get to this serum later, but he takes that as well, and he basically makes his way out. And Lewis grabs this like electrical hand gun and he tries to shoot a net to cap Tyrannis, but Tyrannis breaks out. He breaks out and he runs through the forest, and so Lewis tries to like find him, but Lewis is like, or sorry, Jim is like running through this forest, getting all the way back to his hometown, where he goes to the pharmaceutical place. He gets a bunch of stuff and he mixes it in with the T Rex DNA alongside with this like somewhat super soldier serum DNA thing, and he takes it. And basically, what happens is I'm not really gonna go into the detail of what he put in. 'Cause I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know like the whole like biology behind it, but basically it kind of stabilized it. Like I know he'd at least put like proteins and like some creatine in it, so like he'd basically be like the Hulk, but with a T Rex head and feathers. So he's not gonna turn like full T Rex. He's still gonna have like some human attributes to him, and that's kind of something that the other guys in the other team didn't really account for. They just took the vial, so they're like mutants. Like one of their hand has like a big club on it, like he's an ankylosaur and he's just got like messed up armor. Another guy's like a Spinosaur, so he's got like a huge sail just like kind of jutting through his back and a bunch of spikes coming from him. Like they mutate hard, and the only one that's like somewhat stable is the main villain. I should also say that like the cult leader does have a son whom he cares dearly about because the entire unknown Minnie's not the same power as unknown Mickey. The entire reason that he became a cult leader was because his wife died to these evil people and he wanted to do something about it. So this ancient god basically tried to manipulate him. And the only thing that kind of breaks his loyalty with the god is his son, because his son's like the last bit of humanity he has. Anyways, so the son doesn't take the serum. He actually like stays back with a bunch of other guys as the cult leader and like a few other dino hybrids that kind of take over the streets. And now Tyrannis is like kind of like he's physically more he's like way more aware of everything because he took this like somewhat super soldier serum, but he's still not like the best fighter, but he still gives it his all. Now he's doing this to like save the people. Like he doesn't want to die. Like that's kind of like something he establishes. Like he doesn't want to die, but it's more so a personal need of him. Okay, cool, Captain. It's more like a personal need of him that he doesn't want to die, but he's choosing to ignore this. So he's gonna go out and he's gonna fight these dino human hybrid guys, knowing that he can't really, that he probably won't beat them. But he's not doing it because they he wants to. He's doing it for the right reason. He's doing it because it needs to happen. He needs to stop them because it's his way of taking accountability. Like he needs to prove to himself and kind of avenge his fallen family. So he kind of goes after them, and he beats most of them. Because the main thing about him is he's a smart guy, so he can use the stuff around him. And because he's not in like an empty warehouse, he's in like the streets of Toronto. Yeah, this takes place in Canada, by the way. Fuck you. Um, because in like a city street, he uses stuff to kind of like outsmart the goons, and basically he like defeats them all, and then he fights the main Triceratops guy. The Triceratops guy is like kicking his shit in, but Tyrannis is more T Rex, so he's physically way stronger than the Triceratops guy. But realistically though, like a T Rex and Triceratops fight is 50-50, so it kind of starts off with Tyrannis getting his shit kicked in, and then as he's about to die, he kind of like sees the life of his family flash before his eyes, and like the Triceratops guy is about to like has him in a chokehold, about to like snap his neck. He like takes a horn off the Triceratops guy and like stabs it in the side of his head. The Triceratops guy is like going crazy, and he like rams the Triceratops guy to the ground. Triceratops guy like obviously can't remove his spike, but he has the weapon, so he has to fucking take the spike out of his head and try to stab Tyrannis. But Tyrannis basically kind of flips him over, pins him on his back with the arm that he's using to take out the spike, and he literally rips it off. Like, he rips off this guy's arm. So the Triceratops guy's like missing an arm. He's like there's like a wound through his head, and he's like kind of taunting the Tyrannis guy like kill me right now. And the Tyrannis guy, he's starting to have this like little seizure thing where the animal side of him is kind of taking over in a way. So he's like about to kill him, basically. Like the whole thing where he rips off his arm and stabs him was like the animalistic side of the T Rex kind of taking over a bit. And he's kind of trying to snap himself out of it, and the Triceratops guy is gonna try to use this to his advantage. But Tyrannis, he overcomes it. But it's an established problem that Tyrannis can't really kill anyone because whenever he gets close to killing people, that's when the instinct comes in. So he kind of keeps the Triceratops guy there, and he gives this whole speech that he'll never be as evil as he'll never be like the monster that this Triceratops guy is. And he tells him that now he's going to spend the rest of his life knowing that everything he worked for was a lie. And so then the government guys arrive because they don't really like they were kind of preparing to take on these dino human guys, so they had to get a lot of preparation. So they obviously couldn't have been there like the same time Tyrannis did. Anyway, so Tyrannis does it. The main Triceratops guy gets arrested. Some of his goons escape, and yeah, that's basically the story. Tyrannis kind of goes out into the woods. Doesn't really know what to do with his life. He's a hero now, so yeah, cool. But he also doesn't really know what to do with himself because he has this inner T Rex thing. And yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, some of the cult guys, goons are still like on the loose, but the main guy has been dealt with, and that's the Seal of Venom. That's basically the first story. So if any of you guys want to ask questions, just feel free to request to speak, and I'll bring you on so you can ask a question. Or if you can't talk, just say it in the Discord chat. Oh god, don't tell me you guys are AFK. Oh no, never mind. Just imagine fucking death. Just. Oh, okay. I know that one was a long one because it's one that I've like kind of established most. How would dinosaur have skippers? You mean like spikes? Because like one of them would be a Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus have like the whole spine on them. Also, like they'd all have like colorful feathers for hair because dinosaurs did have feathers. Like I'm tired of seeing people say that they didn't. Anyways, if you guys want to ask a question about the whole story, like something you might have, like a question, just feel free to ask it right now because I'm gonna go on to the second one, which is gonna be way shorter. It's like a sequel thing. I haven't really developed as much as I've developed the first story. So yeah. All right. Thank you, bye. Okay, so this next story is called Steel Fang, and it is about the cult leader's son. So basically, in the lore of the cult leader, there is the cult leader, his second in command, and his son. And despite knowing the second in command guy, whose name is Hural, so despite knowing Hural for longer, I remember sorry being a fucking dinosaur. Yeah, it's also gonna be like the selling point of the whole thing. Anyways, so Hural is the he's been helping the main cult leader guy since the beginning. But the thing about the cult leader guy is when he eventually like dies or like when he's done with being the leader of this whole thing, he's gonna give the leadership to his son instead of the second in command. And the second in command obviously doesn't like that at all, so he's always been kind of jealous. And now with the cult leader arrested, the second in command actually tries to take control of himself by rallying up some of the troops. None of them are like dino human hybrids. They're all just kind of like normal dudes. And he found Quetzalcoatlus serum. And this serum was actually meant for the son of the Triceratops guy, but the son never took it. And the Triceratops guy just basically said, like, whenever you're ready, like, this is for you. But obviously, this second in command guy doesn't give a shit. So what he does is he tries to use some of the scientists that he kidnapped to genetically modify it to make it to where he's less mutated and more of this powerhouse weapon. And like kind of for like the first half, it's kind of juggling between him, the son kind of questioning if he should really be part of this cult, and then Louis Roche trying to track down and find Tyrannis. And there's this other, and Tyrannis is somewhere where we'll get to later. Like, at the time of this, you can't find him. Is all they'll say. So, uh, basically, Harel takes the serum and he becomes Quetzalcoatlus human hybrid, and he kind of breaks out, causing havoc around the town. And this is kind of where like the Triceratops guy's son, who we'll call Kai, because I don't actually have a name for him yet. So Kai kind of tries to like stop him or something, trying to tell him to they would this isn't like how we were supposed to do this. We're supposed to have people rally behind us. And the Harel guy's like, dude, fuck you. And he basically like wing it claps this guy to a building and nearly kills him. And he flies away. Basically, like he destroys most of this like small town that they met up in. This isn't Toronto City. This is like another small town in Canada. So Kai is found by Lewis and the government. Lewis brings him in for questioning because like this guy's like the only guy they actually managed to catch who like has somewhat of a semblance awareness to what this new plan is, and he's the only guy they've caught that knows what the hell's happening with the Quetzalcoatlus guy. So they bring him in for questioning, and they find out that like this guy doesn't really want to be a part of the whole like cult thing. Like, he was always kind of hesitant on it, and he's basically telling Lewis that this guy just basically wants to kill everyone. He wants to kill everyone and rule. Like summon the gods so that he can kill him himself. Like he just wants to rule now because he's been so jealous. Like he's clearly not a guy for ruling, and it's very clear as to why he was never chosen to be the leader. So, anyways, Lewis has this like little iron suit. It's like Iron Man, but like kind of unfinished. It looks like a saber tooth tiger. And Lewis and this other guy kind of had this like kind of buddy relationship, Kai. So Lewis ends up getting more trust in Kai, and he entrusts Kai with this suit. And Kai kind of makes a joke like, "It's like a saber tooth tiger. I like it," or whatever. I don't know. It's a really shitty placeholder for how it will become a saber tooth tiger. But anyways, Lewis and Kai kind of like train a bit. Lewis kind of trains Kai while also sending military guys to try to neutralize the Quetzalcoatlus guy. And they find out that the Quetzalcoatlus guy moves very slow when he's flying. So they're able to kind of like keep him distracted by sending military drones for him to destroy and kind of keeping him in a specific area while they're kind of training. And then Lewis kind of reveals this major plot point that this suit is made out of metals that came from the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. And it is basically this universe's vibranium. It's like the strongest metal ever. And it's found out that when hit with like a bunch of heat, can generate this kind of energy beam. So basically, if you were to heat this up enough, it would essentially cause the heat around to ball up into this blue fire light and shoot out. So Lewis kind of designs a tool to do that. They all kind of do this in like somewhat short period of time. And he puts it on the suit, and he kind of like shows Kai how to do it, and then he deploys Kai to go fight the Quetzalcoatlus guy. And Kai is basically wiping the floor with him because Quetzalcoatlus guy, mind you, he's like a slightly stronger version of a Quetzalcoatlus, but it's still an animal. So he's like shooting him, he's blasting him, and in a fit of rage, like it completely kills him. Like he murders him because he's pissed off of what he did, what like how he tried to ruin his dad's legacy, how like he tried to hurt people that didn't need to be hurt and stuff. And yeah, so now they have this like saber tooth tiger guy on their team. And now here's a little bit of another catch. At the end of this, Lewis meets this guy who is deemed the deadliest man alive. He's an assassin. Except his main weapon is a yo-yo with a blade. And I think some of you guys might have already heard of this guy, but yeah. That's where it kind of ends off. And yeah, that's it in that second one. It's a way shorter than the first one. It's like a little short show. But yeah, what do we think of that one? I kind of think this one's like my least favorite of the projects, but it does introduce like a core character. It kind of sets up this like core relationship thing, and you can also tell like most of them are like dino themed prehistoric shit. Yeah, I didn't really get much of the details done. That's why it's not like as finished as the Tyrannis story. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about that, just kind of ask me. I don't even know if anyone's like still watching this in the chat. Yeah, I'll give like you guys some time to dinosaur with the Iron Man the epic. Yeah, honestly, his design from what I have kind of looks more like Tech Jacket because it's just like gray with light blue highlights. But that's kind of like a placeholder. I want to kind of add a bit more like a yellowish tone, kind of make him look more like his own thing. But I don't really. No, 58 out. Oh yeah, part 58. Yeah, we'll take like a little break. I'll just like quickly watch part 58 before we get on to a very funny next one, Night Raptor. I know what's gonna happen. To the surprise of absolutely fucking no one. I fuck with the audio though. I forgot I can't comment. I hear. I'm watching this after this. This shit's frying me, bro. About time Red lost someone. Like, holy shit. They were like on top for so long. Hold on, what the fuck was this? Oh, it's gone. Did Jojo Siwa become a pedophile? Like, I swear to God, bro. I swear to God, bro. I'm gonna not interested that because I don't want to see that. All right, anyways, let's get back to the main story. So, Night Raptor. I want my heart says Darth Vader, my brain says white. Vader negs. Death. Let's just like push that agenda. Actually. Okay. Anyways, so Night Raptor tells a story about this guy whose name is Liam Arfinson. He's basically was once an assassin that people would pay to kill other people, and he had this like relationship with his girlfriend. However, because he was an assassin, he pissed the wrong people off. Ooh. White versus Andrew. Doll versus Mario. Tricky versus. Ooh, Tilo Argas wins. Yo, okay. Sorry, that was fucking stupid. Um, so because he pisses people off, Fave killed his girlfriend, and at the end of the Steel Fang show, fuck, I'm forgetting that the show's name. At the end of that, he's basically found in this state where he's kind of questioning his life, questioning his morals, and of course, Lewis finds him and puts him in the right state of mind. Like he kind of trains him throughout the movie, and in the movie, there's a main villain named Griffin. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The guy who I'm going to Fan Expo as is Griffin. So I'm dressing up as this guy's villain for Fan Expo. That's like the guy I'm going to be cosplaying. Anyway, so Griffin's like this vigilante who's kind of just always been there. Like I'd imagine his existence would be established in the Tyrannis movie. It just you never really see him until this the Night Raptor thing. So anyways, Night Raptor's on this mission to try to stop Griffin. And in doing so, he uncovers the fact Griffin is part of this like bigger thing. He's actually working for one of the cult members who have provided him with strong metals, which basically they've located the asteroid and have taken some of the metals from it, and they've used them to make his suit. Um, anyways, so his plan is to kind of try to steal some metals from the specific government area. And Night Raptor's job is to try to stop it. And also throughout this, like Lewis kind of teaching him how to, like they, just kind of like being like there for him, like a friend for him. I'd imagine Lewis would be a very sympathetic boss. Anyways, so you know, like Night Raptor would fight Griffin like a few times throughout the film, and then he had this final fight where they're at the location and well, they're not at the location, they're near it, and he fights Griffin, and he like fatally wounds Griffin. And Griffin basically like tells him that he's ruining this world, and basically tells him his like kind of story, saying that he used to work for the war when his country finally rewarded him. It turns out the job wasn't done. People came and they tried to kill him, and he tried to put his life on the line to save his family, literally getting half his face burnt off. But even after that, his wife divorced him because she thought he was a liability to the family and that he lied to her, saying that they would always be safe, even though they were always safe. And it basically pissed him off. He was in the same place as uh, Night Raptor was, where he's questioning his morals in life. Except instead of finding Lewis Rosh, he found this Stegosaurus guy who worked with the cult. And this Stegosaurus guy was basically the one pulling the strings on him. And yeah. So Liam tries to rush him back to save him, but it's too late. Griffin's dead. And now Liam is like pissed off. Like this guy was literally just like him. He went through the same stuff as him. Only thing, well, not the same stuff, but they both lost someone they loved while trying to do good. And the only difference was one of them found the right person, the other one found the wrong person, and Griffin had to die. And Liam said like it should have been him, like he shouldn't have been found by Lewis. It should have been Griffin. Griffin deserved it more. Blah 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 blah. Like Griffin was betrayed by the people he loved. He needed this more than he did, and Lewis kind of halts the mission to try to like keep Liam in check. Like basically tell him like it's all right. He basically says like stuff like this happens when something doesn't go your way, and a lot of people will tell you it's a sign that you need to stop what you're doing, but it's really a question that asks you, are you going to keep going despite this, or are you going to let this very moment haunt you and control you for the rest of your life? And Liam essentially chooses to keep going. He says that he's going to try to, like, do his best, the best that he can to make the world a better place in honor of this Griffin guy, because it's what the Griffin guy wanted to do. He was under the wrong impression. So he goes to fight the final, like, boss guy, the Stegosaurus dude. The Stegosaurus dude kind of like escapes, but or he's seemingly killed. He's like has like he puts there's like a bomb inside of his chest and it explodes. So he's seemingly dead. He's not dead. He escapes, and there's a huge plot twist that reveals that while the government was focused on facing this guy, there were secret troops secretly invading. Like they had ties to people working in the government that were secretly taking this powerful metal, not only directly from the meteor, but from other locations. And basically, this whole thing wasn't to steal the metal. It was to get them all focused on one specific area because this is the strongest thing in the world. So obviously, their priorities are dead set on it. So their goal was to rally all like their power up into one area, so they could sneakily take the rest of the other areas and leave them with very little. And so this is kind of hyping up something major. I'm kind of debating swapping this with the next thing. I think it's better if I just like keep this the final film before the main Avengers like thing. I don't really know. But yeah, this is kind of like something that would happen. I think I actually said this one too earlier. I think I don't know. I'm kind of like debating where I'd place these. But anyways, the the next one would be this. Well, I wouldn't say the next one. This one will be like the semi-final one before the Avengers the whole thing. So we're gonna go back in time a bit. This is kind of confusing. I'll like write the timeline in here. Um, okay. So the next one is Tyrannis 2. I know, really funny. I'm copying the MCU with this one, but Tyrannis 2 takes place right after the events of Tyrannis 1, where he's kind of on the run. He's kind of hiding, and he encounters this skinwalker, and they kind of fight it out, and he like beats the skinwalker, and he's about to kill it, but he just barely hold, and he's like literally about to rip its head off, and then he's tranquilized. And he wakes up in his cell with the skinwalker thing, and the skinwalker guy's like reading a book, and he's like kind of pissed off at the Tyrannis. He's like, "Where the fuck are we? Where are we?" And it turns out that they're in this secret. I say secret. It's like a rogue secret government facility where they basically kidnap a bunch of cryptids. So there's like Bigfoot. There's um like Goat Man. There's lizard people. There's the Mothman. Like they're all in this specific place. And essentially, um, they're all kind of just like being kept there so people can study them. And Tyrannis and the Skinwalker guy are new additions because the Tyrannis is like they assume Tyrannis is like a subspecies of lizard people, but they haven't seen the Skinwalker. There's only one Skinwalker in this store, and I'll probably get to that in a long time. But yeah, so basically they're kind of in this facility, and around the same time, Lewis is kind of tracking down Tyrannis with the help of the Steel Fang guy. And at this time, it's been like a few months since the events of like there's like huge time jump where Tyrannis kind of just gets used to living in this area with Skinwalker. And he meets all these like other cryptid guides. Actually, I don't know if it's like 6 months or if I should just make it like a few days because like they kind of don't like living there. So I don't know. I think I should just make it like a few days instead. Anyways, Lewis comes in. He's kind of got this like somewhat semblance of a suit. Like he's got a mask. He's got these electrical gauntlets, and the kind of serum that Tyrannis took, Lewis took it. So basically, his whole thing is he has electrical based weapons, but he has a specific serum that heightens his senses and heightens his like durability and like what he could take. Because he's working with electricity, he's probably getting electrical burns all over his arms. So he physically amped himself so he can survive having these electrical gauntlets on. Anyway, so he breaks down everyone, including the Mothman. And the Mothman is a villain. He's not a good guy. So Tyrannis comes out and Mothman follows him. And he starts fighting Tyrannis and Skinwalker, saying how like he notices that they are the strongest, which means they're liabilities. Tyrannis tries to beat the Mothman, but the Mothman can regenerate. Like he like rips off like a piece of his skin, Mothman regenerates, and he basically knocks Tyrannis out and makes quick work with the Skinwalker guy. And so Tyrannis and the Skinwalker kind of found by Lewis alongside a bunch of other of these cryptids. There's like Bigfoot, there's Goatman, there's this like Jade Samurai guy. Like he's one of my favorite characters. He's like this like samurai that's made completely out of jade metal. Um, and they're kind of like, okay, there's this like giant moth guy who beat the crap out of me, Tyrannis, so we need to fight him. So basically, what they do is they kind of spend the movie trying to like stop the Mothman, but literally they know that the Mothman has assumed hypnotic control over most of the crypt over like some of the cryptids. So they also got to deal with some of these cryptids while also using them as like ways to track down the Mothman. And they find him. They have this big battle, and the Skinwalker does something pretty weird. He rips off the antenna of the Mothman, which the Mothman in this universe activate on frequencies through their antenna. And the antenna basically create this frequency that allow their cells to regenerate at atomically fast levels. So they're basically immortal as long as their central nervous system is attached to the antenna. And they also just have to be some of the most genetically perfect creatures ever because nothing in the known universe is that they know of is capable of ripping off their antenna. So the Skinwalker doing this is pretty insane. Um, the moth guy's like traumatized. Skinwalker suggests that they kill him, and then the Tyrannis guy says like, no, he's like, see, like he kind of finds it immoral now to kill people or to like kill anyone. Like, so I know it's kind of weird. T Rex guy doesn't like killing people. He's not a guy who's up with killing people because he thinks that it makes him on the same level as the cult leader guy. So they let this guy go, and the movie would end with the cult leader proposing these new like mechanical set of antennas. Like, oh, they'll make you stronger than you were before if you just join us. That's like a post credit scene cliffhanger. Then, anyways, after this, there's okay. Well, actually, first I should ask, um, what do we think of this? What did we think of this? I'm keeping these ones a lot shorter and more brief because I've worked on them a lot less. So they're more so just summaries of the whole thing. Death, tell me 50, what 59 part 59 is in DMs. But yeah, if you guys want to say anything right now, just go ahead. Say what you got to say about this. I don't know. It's kind of losing the street. Oh, it's kind of losing the street level vibe that it previously had. Um, but obviously, it's going somewhere. So the main thing about this is it's kind of like centered in reality, but also kind of not. So that's why I'm using like cryptid as like most of the superhero guys. Anyways, so I don't really know what I'd name this show, so I just call it the Lewis Ross show. It's something that I'd imagine would span throughout the entire series. It's just like bits and pieces of Lewis's lore, what he has to deal with. So in this phase one thing, he's it's taking place after the second Tyrannis movie. So there's this whole thing of there are these rogue dino cult leaders running rampant, and then there's also these cryptids that are running rampant. And so he has to try to establish control while also trying to, you know, not kind of capture, but just like neutralize them, find the threats and get rid of them while also like allowing the ones that just want to live their lives, or probably helping them, while also trying to track down these dino guys. But the people of the world, they're kind of questioning his authority and questioning if he's really right for the job because he inadvertently caused this. He broke the cryptids out without having a proper way to contain them, mainly because most of the ways he used to contain them were destroyed by the Mothman. And then he's also partially responsible for the whole dino cultist incident. So the whole thing is him basically trying to rectify this, trying to fix everything, while also tracking down this like dino cult guy who's a Spinosaurus. And the whole thing would kind of culminate with him finding the Spinosaurus guy, and the Spinosaurus guy nearly kills him. So he goes like overcharge on him, and Lewis would also have a more defined suit, like it would be more like armor on him. He go overcharge on the guy, which would create an explosion that kills both him and the Dino guy. However, Lewis is revived via his own tech. Remember the DNA thing that allows you to recreate cells? They basically rebuilt his body and then use his electrical gauntlets to kind of shock him back to life. And this also goes in play with the super soldier serum thing he made for himself. He can actually be revived by this much electricity and jump started because his body can survive that. Like normally, if you use this much electricity, your body will just stop functioning. But his body's adapted to this level of electricity to where you could basically just revive him. Like you could actually revive him. So, anyways, he's kind of back, and he's a little traumatized after his death. And then, of course, the Nighthawk thing happens, which leads right into the wait. What the fuck? This is crazy. Why is out here finding anomalies? Anyways, so the Avengers level movies here, and this is what I'm calling them. Defenders of Earth. I'm probably gonna find a different name, but as of right now, they're just Defenders of Earth. So this whole thing is a team culmination. Playing off of the last movie, for the main lineup of teammates, we have Tyrannis, the Skinwalker guy, Louis Rosh, Steel Fang, um, this other like kind of war veteran guy who's helping Lewis. I don't know who I don't know what his name would be, but he's like a father figure for him. There's Nighthawk, and then there's the Jade Warrior. So yeah, so the Jade, sorry, not Jade Warrior, Jade Samurai. So the Jade Samurai offers to join them, and basically how this all happens is most of them have already met, and they basically kind of like trying to figure out like what they're trying to do with all this metal, trying to track them down. And the Jade Warrior says that ever since he was awakened, which I'm gonna have to kind of backtrack a little bit. The Jade Warrior in the second Tyrannis movie was in a stasis until Lewis broke him out, to which the Mothman kind of also helped break him out by like destroying a bunch of shit. But anyways, so he's been in stasis, and him coming back, he notices that there is a somewhat presence of this evil guy that he fought. He was created to destroy this thing called the Ruby Renegade, which way back in ancient China was this fuck what are they called again? Animator? I don't know. It's basically like they can create. They're people who can create and make an anim like wizards or something. And what he did was he unlocked. He found this like ancient. He found a way to grow his power, and it essentially turned him red. Like he became this ruby guy. They cursed him. And so the Jade Warrior was created by like an animator or like a wizard to combat him and seal him away. And now this guy is coming back, and so the Jade and turns out he's the god that the cults are trying to break free. So now we have proper exposition. We know who this god is. We know that he's strong, and we know that we have to stop, the cult leader from actually setting him free. And so the cult leader comes and says, "I'd like to meet with Tyrannis." So it kind of establishes this like private meetup with Tyrannis, but obviously Lewis brings some backup just in case. And he says, my intentions are benign with you. I don't want to hurt you, but you could have a place in my world. We're ever so close to setting free this guy, and we could use you by our side to properly help the people not die. Basically, he wants them to force the people to join the cult leader's side so they don't have to die. Trying to advert to him. He says like, the guy you're trying to help is a terrorist. He wouldn't even piss on you if you're on fire. He only wants you to set him free. He only wants you to like set him free so that he can kill you all when he's done. When he's done with whatever he wants to do. So Triceratops guy doesn't like this, and so he calls in someone, the Mothman with these new mecha antenna, who basically attacks Tyrannis and brings him to the ground. The Skinwalker guy helps him as Triceratops guy goes on the run. And, the Triceratops guy's running, and then he sees the Saber-Tooth guy stops him and tells him you will not harm any of the people, the people are allowed to be free, they're allowed to choose what they want, you gotta stand by them. The guy says, like, who the fuck are you? And Saber-Tooth guy takes off the mask, and cult leader guy realizes that's his son telling him this. And after hearing this, he immediately listens to the son. Like, he chooses to keep the people out of this, and he would even try to bargain with the gods, saying that like, you know, we could create our own world somewhere else, just not on this planet, because his son, he wants to honor his son. He doesn't want his son to leave him. So now we're already having this kind of like double thing. Like, this guy's son's working against him, and he isn't really there for that, but he doesn't want to get mad at his son for it. So, anyways, after that, they kind of regroup um some elsewhere, and the cult guys, they're off doing their own thing, trying to build the shrine out of the metal, while the other guys are trying to track down where they went. And eventually, they do find them. I don't know. This is like a huge portion of the thing that I hadn't thought of yet. So, anyways, fast forward to the end part. They're fighting. The Mothman guy, by the way, joins the good team because he kind of realized like oppression and stuff, and he wants these guys gone. And I should also mention that prior to this movie happening, the cult leader guy was broken out of prison, so that's why he's out. It was a part of the keep him focused on one thing so we can do this other thing. So that's also why he's kind of here. So they have the big fight. You know, they all fight the cult leader guy, but they fail to stop him from unleashing the god. The god shoots up into the sky and darts somewhere else. And basically, what they do is the main guys, they fight, and they end up defeating the cult leader guy. But the cult leader guy did technically win. The god is out there now, somewhere, and it's kind of up to the Jade Warrior guy to stop this god. The Jade Warrior is like a pretty powerful dude, because this god's like world-ending god. He's basically built to stop him. But yeah, kind of ends with that. They all go to prison. All the evil guys, the main guys, kind of like regroup, and they establish themselves as a team, the Defenders of Earth. And yeah, and after this, a lot of good press has happened for Lewis, because one of the big problems is gone. The cult guys, even though the god's still out there, nobody knows. Except for the main heroes. And Lewis is kind of hesitant on telling the world that. He's more focused on just like secretly trying to get him, because he doesn't want people to have more doubt in him. But yeah, that's basically where it ends. Tyrannis and Skinwalker, they're best buddies. Steel Fang and the cult leader guy, Triceratops, they're kind of like father son relationship. He's kind of doubting what he's doing. Same thing is going with Lewis and this like veteran guy, like father son relationship esque. The Jade Warrior guy and Nighthawk, they're kind of just doing their own thing. But yeah, that's it. Now, I did say there Defenders of Finale. I did say there was one more thing, and this is another one that's probably might take a while, but it's one you guys have heard before. Heck, it's even one that half of you even partook in. Super Zeros. I am actually insanely close. This is the closest I am to actually making a movie, because I could actually get the whole script. I could actually get the whole cast. I could even animate this myself if I tried to learn animation. But anyways, so Super Zeros was like a funny play we did that's meant to be a parody of superhero stuff. But I'm turning this shit into a full blown movie. Like, I actually want this to be a movie. And so we're gonna start this off. Introducing the main characters. We have. Oh wait, hold on. Before we even said that, what did you guys think of the whole phase one of my Defenders of Earth thing? I forgot to completely ask. What did you guys think of that? There's obviously some more things that I could add. And I will add them as time passes, but it's just what I've got so far. And who knows? Maybe I might even like unleash phase two if I'm like even less prepared for that than I am for phase one. All right, see you. Bye. Oh well, but I can just watch this when he's back, or when he wakes up. Anyways, so we have our four main characters. Renegade, who is a ninja who basically isn't the best. When he's in training, and he's never really the best, because he doesn't really think they're like the fighting style that he's supposed to. Okay, so you're not even real if you're gonna leave. So, anyways, Renegade, he's not the best at fighting. He's more so a guy that tries to use the stuff around him. He's not a strategist. He's just a dude that uses what he can, and therefore he's shunned by this. But he keeps telling himself that what he's doing is the best way. So he kind of has an ego from this. He kind of makes himself out to be this perfect guy. It's like, oh yeah, No, I'm the best. I'm the best at this. I'm so good. I'm like, oh, I'm so good at fighting, bro. I'm the best. And then there's Captain Thunderpants. Yeah. So they're all kind of like vigilantes as of right now. So there's Captain Thunderpants, who's like this bodybuilder guy who works out, but he also kind of wants to be a hero. And when he realized that, like, when he rubs his hair and shocks people, his hair can kind of conduct some form of electricity, but it's more so static shock. He's just desperate to be a hero, so he tries to use that as his power. He tries to like make himself out to be this electrical superhero that uses like electricity as his power and stuff. But really, he's just knocking them out. He knows it, but he keeps trying to make it out to be like he's an electric superhero. No one really sees him fight. Like when he shot them, he tried to like disguise it, like disguise his punches with like try to shock people. So he's kind of like a fraud almost. Then there's B Train, a dude who just really wanted to be different, so he tried to do everything backwards. Well, no, he tried to run backwards, but he didn't realize that that's how it changed his life and made him who he is now. He just tried to be the guy that runs backwards. He could run really fast backwards, and he's like super cool. And he's like an actual event. Like he also tries to do what Thunderpants does, where he just act like he's an actual superhero, but he's not. He's just the dude that can run backwards. And then there's Clipboard Man. He was basically an ultimate frisbee champion, but the sport kind of died out. No one really started liked it, so stocks went down, hype died down, and he was eventually let go. DCU? No, I wouldn't call it damn cinematic universe. So yeah, so he kind of like got depressed. He became a druggie, and then he stole this like superhero suit. Now he just like thinks he's Clipboard Man because in his drug-induced state, he threw a clipboard, and it just so happened to like knock someone out. And now he just is this guy who's always on drugs, just goes around kind of harassing people, but also trying to fight crime while also being high. I don't know. He's a really fucking stupid guy. By throwing clipboards because he's drugged, he can't throw it right. So, anyways, Renegade is thinking of assembling a superhero team to fight this rising threat, Naughty Man. Naughty Man is a guy who has psychic powers, and basically his whole motive is he lost his brother and he blames it on his brother for being weak, and he doesn't want to be weak. So what he's trying to do, so what he basically did was he got into this whole fucking like it's a mockery of how villains get their powers. Like he was staring at a solar eclipse while jumping into a volcano, while also taking uranium and thinking about moving the sun. And he just like I don't know, some major bullshit that just gives him his like powers of super strength and psychic powers. And his goal is to rally up all the strong people in the world, put them in a room, and he is going to physically stop the earth from rotating, which will cause everyone to go flying a mock fuck and kill everyone except the people he's holding in the room because he'll be holding them all still. And so he is basically rallying up these people, but he's also kind of committing crimes because no, not everyone likes him. So he's like killing innocent people and to like kind of weed them out. He's not really good with his plan. He's trying to like find strong people and just like take innocent people from them so he can use them as like ransom. Like try to give them like nowhere else to go but to follow him. So Renegades creates a team, and the whole thing happens. Where they meet up, they interrogate. They're all like, yeah, bro, we're this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And so they find this guy who's working with Naughty Man called Locust. Basically, what he can do is he can just zip really fast in different locations. He's kind of like Ghost, but like he has super speed bursts and he can throw things really far. Like he's insane strength and speed bursts. And so they fight him, and it goes the same way they fight Naughty Man in the original thing. Like they're very dysfunctional because they're all kind of trying to keep up this image of themselves that they're like special. And they don't really do it right. And then Thunderpants puts the explosive blast in this that kills Locust. And Renegade is pissed off at them because like they're nothing. It's like, who the fuck are you guys? None of you guys are capable of doing shit. You're all the worst. Like they kind of have this like somewhat breakup moment. And like I imagine somewhere through this they kind of realize that like they gotta embrace who they are. Like they just have to embrace who they are. So they kind of get back together. Clipboard Man gets off the drugs. He goes sober for like a few days, and then the whole thing with Naughty Man happens. And Thunderpants starts contacting everyone saying, we're not as functional as a team. We're people who care, who give a shit. So let's at least do that. So they go to fight Naughty Man, and Naughty Man has heard of them, and he basically like, well, actually no, they wouldn't go straight to Naughty Man. They'd fight a bunch of crime first to try to test, kind of train for this. Then they'd fight Naughty Man, and Naughty Man beforehand has heard of them. Is like, oh, they're strong. They might have a place in my world. I was blocking using Discord work. Why the fuck is he telling me this? Is this the one the cast? Yeah, this is the one where you guys voiced over. Anyway, so they fight Naughty Man, and Naughty Man's like obviously holding back because he doesn't want to kill them. He wants to like at least like knock them out, but they're relentless, and they're all kind of working together. So Renegade is using his fighting skills to use what he has around him in this like um kind of trashed abandoned area. Thunderpants is actually physically strong, so he's actually getting good hits on Naughty Man. B Train is essentially just acting as like the meat shield, being a distraction as he like kind of run around backwards and like jump through things. And he also kind of like get surprise hits where he just like lunge at Naughty Man. He's probably like a useless one of them. And like Clipboard Man trying to throw the clipboards, but he still can't get it right because he's still kind of getting off the drugs. And then just like randomly through the fight, he locks the fuck in. He throws a clipboard straight through the wall, ricocheting it bullseye style. Hits something like knocks over this like giant thing and it like falls on Naughty Man. He throws out the clipboard. He freaking knocks Naughty Man back. So it's the clipboard up, and then I imagine there'd be this gag where B Train would then like try to stomp on Naughty Man's head. His like bone would break through his leg, so he'd roll around crying. And then like you get like a hologram around his leg, just his plot armor, and his leg would get healed. You're like, oh, that's nice. And just cut back. But yeah, the clipboard man would just like start locking in. He'd actually be like I'd imagine he'd be like the most capable of them all when he's locking in because he's ultimate frisbee, he can throw things. So they basically get Naughty Man on the ground, and Renegade basically tells him like, yeah, we know what happened to you because they kind of did research on who he was beforehand, telling him that like you don't have to like do this, like basically telling them like we embraced who we are. You don't have to keep running from yourself. You don't have to do this all because you're afraid of yourself. Basically, Naughty Man kind of reveals that the main reason he didn't try to kill them was because he saw how flawed they were, but they somehow just didn't care and they kept going. And he, like, as much as he didn't want to change, wanted to keep being this perfect guy, a part of him still wanted to see like how could they find peace? Like he wanted to see how to find peace with himself and who he is, because like he's insecure about himself. He doesn't want to change, but he also kind of wants to know how he can accept this. So they kind of teach him how to accept who he is and basically kind of calm him down. So his plan fails. He turns himself into the police to kind of spend some time in prison, and the super zeros saved the day. And then they hear "Oi oi oi," that was diabolical or something, and then they found like a ripoff of the boys, and they just end off like right there. Because it's supposed to be a parody movie of superheroes, so there'd always obviously be like a bunch of parody superhero tropes, but it also have a moral lesson of you shouldn't try to be someone who you aren't because you're objectively worse faking who you are. But yeah, that's the Super Zeros story. I actually kind of like it more than the Tyrannis one. I'm going to be so honest, even though Tyrannis is one that I really liked. I like superheroes more, man. I like Super Zeros more. And yeah, Locust do a goon stream next stream. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, Locust being like this like kind of original dude is just kind of out of left field because I really want to keep the fucking explosive laxative joke in. I just know how to do it with Naughty Man. Anyways, yeah, that's it. I would do Gardic Phone, but there isn't enough of us here to actually do it. Thanks, Blaze. But yeah, that's it for tonight's stream. It was just me yapping, having a yap sesh. Maybe one time one of you guys could do something. I know, Death. I know, but it's a school night. It's what's expected. But you know what, Death? You can tell me what's happening in the next part of your series in DMs. We'll have a rave about it. But anyways, guys, that's it for tonight's stream. Just thought I'd kind of document this stuff while also telling you guys what I've got in store, seeing how you guys think of it. Anyways,